Now, back to the 57th National Capital and Chesapeake Bay Emmy Awards.
The Ted Yates Award is presented to an individual who has demonstrated outstanding professional and personal qualities in their contribution to television news and public affairs in the National Capital Chesapeake Bay region.
As a teenager, Pete O'Neill, also known as Pete on the Street, rode his 3-speed bicycle all over the streets of Baltimore, literally covering hundreds of miles. His journeys in search of adventure would later assist his uncanny ability to get to the story first when he became an Emmy Award-winning spot news photographer for WMAR-TV. The preparation for his life's calling began much earlier on this basketball court in East Baltimore when an unknown news photographer paused to allow an inquisitive 8-year-old to view his neighborhood through the viewfinder and see his community from a different perspective. This simple act of kindness opened a new world for Pete and exposed him to a career he had never imagined. Working at WMAR-TV was exciting but also very challenging. The nightly onslaught of negative incidents and frequent scenes of misery and grief soon began to wear heavily, and he became weary of recording them. Pete began to look for ways to combat the negative images he was recording by deciding in 1991 to show the positive side of the city. He created and produced an entertainment show called Turn It Up. 2 years later, while still working at WMAR, the unimaginable happened when Pete discovered his own mother murdered in her East Baltimore home. Striving to overcome this horrendous event, Pete and his wife Beverly created a weekly children's television program, which ran on WMAR every Saturday morning for 6 years. This show was dedicated to his mother, who loved children. And in 1997, Pete honored his mother once again by starting the It's Kindertime toy drive in her memory. Each Christmas, this toy drive delivers thousands of toys to sick, needy, and homeless children throughout the state of Maryland. Recipients of the toys include children who are patients at Kennedy Krieger Institute and the Ronald McDonald House. Pete also strives to give back to the community by speaking to youth groups about careers in broadcasting, speaking at prisons during victims' rights events, and by providing food to the needy at Thanksgiving by creating the Corvette Run. Pete strives to give back to the community by helping wherever he is needed, and he lives his life by this quote: "I expect to pass through life but once. If therefore there be any kindness I can show, or any good thing I can do to any fellow being, let me do it now, and not defer or neglect it, as I shall not pass this way again."
What? Give me a second if you wouldn't mind. I mean, y'all don't say that but stuff to me when I'm home. Ooh, okay. This is going to be hard because there's so many people out there that I know. I mean, I know your faces, and my news director, Kelly, and a wonderful lady named Rachel, who, Rachel, you know. I look at Steve Jones, and my family and friends over at 45, and the photographers, and Kurt, who I run the street with, and Tracy over at MPT, who taught me how to light, and who's won 50 million of these things. I think I'll stay behind the camera. For you guys who are in front of the cameras, this is hard. So next time I owe you an apology when I say, you've been practicing all night. What? You get on the air and you're flubbing a line. What's wrong? I now know how you feel. I'll keep behind the camera. But I can't stand up here, and I know I'll be quick, but I can't stand up here and not say thank you for all the folks who are behind the scenes that you don't see, who have made me feel like $1 million. Thank you. Carol and her staff, and I can't think of any words. Carol and her staff, and all the people who just make this happen. I had the honor of being inducted into the Civil Circle this past winter, and they treated me like $1 million, so thanks again. I also can't stand up here and say thank you to God in heaven, because if you only knew, tonight I go full circle. This is a full circle for me. It's like finding the gold at the end of the rainbow, even though I feel as though I still have more rainbows to look for. But tonight is the end. I started out at 8 years old, and please understand this comment, with a white photographer taking a few minutes with a black kid, showing him a camera and looking through a viewfinder. Why would that matter right now? Why would I say a white photographer? Because understand this was 1966. We had just went through the 63, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, March on Washington, Kennedy killed the 4 girls in the bombing in the church, and then in 64, the civil rights. Fast forward, I had a news director at BEL tell me, I was a tech there, that I'll never make it as a news photographer. She had 5 openings for news photographers, and I was trying to get an opportunity to be one. She said, I don't think you'll ever be a news photographer. And that's why I went to MAR, and they allowed me. I had a lot of folks teach me the camera to come back full to the other half of the circle. I had a chance to meet Barry Levinson, work with him, Bruce Paltrow, John Waters on various films and TV shows. And then if you come back to the bottom of the circle, the worst thing that could ever happen to anyone, at least in my thought, is when mother was murdered. Now understand, I promised myself I wouldn't do this, but I think about her all the time. I get in a car, I turn the scanners on, and I ride to some of the worst things you've ever seen. I point the camera, I focus, and at the time the city paper said I had covered up to about 1,800 homicides. That's not fatal fires, that's not fatal accidents, that's not domestics, this is just strictly homicides. I was the one that found my mother. I was working at night and couldn't reach her. And a police officer and I went in the house and we found her. She was killed. She was beaten to death. All the homicides that I have seen played back like a videotape in my mind. All the people I had interviewed played back like a videotape. And I constantly remember hearing them say, no, no, no. I constantly heard them say, why could this happen? And now I was on the floor as the homicide detectives came in, and I was saying those exact same words. And these homicide detectives I knew or know, or, I work with them a lot of times, and they say, Pete, you can't come in the house to film anything. And one of the officers I remembered, he said, you don't understand. His mother was killed. His mother was murdered. And then a total silence in the room. So to fast forward to come back on the other side of the circle, Beverly and I said, why be a bitter person? People who know me, I try to be upbeat. You don't want to hang around with somebody, be bitter all the time. So I try to, we created the kids show, the toy drive that you saw. And now here we are at the top of the circle, full circle. I'm in here with some of the top people in the business who are just excellent photographers and reporters and news directors and producers. And I'm standing in front of you guys to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all that you've taught me, all that you've said, all that you've done for me to allow me to be up here in front of you. But now the one thing, and I'm going to end it soon. Oh, gee, bear with me. Out of all the crime and stuff I've covered, this is the most hard thing that I've ever done. Beverly stole some of my lines, but she didn't continue the story. I saw this beautiful lady walking down the hallway, and I said, okay, can I take your picture? She said, I didn't have any film in the camera. Use what you can use, okay? I couldn't, that was the spring of '76. When you talk about God, God said, okay, look, you idiot, I tried to get you the girl of your life, you blew it. So I was walking in, she was walking in the door again, '76, the fall of '76. I saw her, didn't know it was the same girl. Yes, I'm an idiot, I know it, okay? So I said, can I walk you to your class? She looked at me, and I was wondering why she didn't tell me this until a few years ago now. I knew it was you. I knew it was you. You was the same guy that told me you took my picture, and you didn't have any filming camera. I said, oh, geez. Since '76, we've been together since. So this is how I know. When I asked God what happened to my mother, I said, why did you forsake me? Why did you take someone from me who I loved? It was just always my mother, just me and my mom. No brothers or sisters, dad cruised in and out. And she taught me a lot of things. We treat people with respect. Treat people with honesty, demand respect in return. That's all you need to do. Why would you do this? And it reminded me of the poem when the poem says, I said, God, I can see the footprints in the sand where we walked side by side. And then I see that they turn into single footprints. Why? And in this poem it says, well, that's when I was carrying you, is when. That was my darkest moment. I was as low as, it was a dark room, if you can picture lower than a footprint. I was that low. But if he was carrying me in his arms, and if he had me here, he had Beverly here, and she was holding my hand. So tonight, this is how I know God has a sense of humor also. You can see how she's looking. Okay? I'm more nervous about this than any crime scene that I've ever come close to. Okay. Peter, come back. Come. All right. When I met her that second time and we dated, I decided I had a little Minolta camera, and that Minolta camera I love. I decided now it's time to get married. And in '76, that ring, I went and traded that camera in on a ring at the pawn shop. It wasn't even brand new, but that was all I could afford. She said, okay. You know, now when I asked her, and these two guys who look good tonight, but they get on my case all the time, she was going for a graduate degree at her sister's house. I didn't take her out to a restaurant. I didn't take her to, and it wasn't in the champagne glass, none of that fancy stuff. I got so nervous, I got up, and in a hallway at her sister's apartment, I said, would you marry me? They have told me over the years how lame that was. Pops, that was so lame. So tonight, with my broadcast family, 34 years later, there's a little ring in here, which is the original ring, okay? The stone fell out of it. I have been asking her the past couple of weeks and said, where's that ring at? Do you know where my school ring is? You know, and I said, oh, by the way, what was this old wedding ring I gave you? Oh, somewhere, I think it's in my jewelry box. And I couldn't blow it, you know, you know what I mean. And so I couldn't keep asking her because she would caught on. So today, she told me, oh, you've been asking me about my ring, and here it is. So I got it, stole it, and here it is right here. The diamond was so small, you needed one of those electronic microphones to see it. But it was all I could afford. I went out and bought another one for her. So they side by side. And tonight, come here, hold this. I got help now. Oh, I'm so glad to be able to do this. This corrects 36 years of lameness. Okay? Don't you guys start playing yet. It's funny you gotta take off your glasses to read. Okay, come here. Woo! It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine. That's your way. You always walked a step behind. It might have gone or appeared to go unnoticed, but I've got it all here in my heart. I want you to know I know the truth. Of course, I know the truth. I would be nothing without you. Did you ever know that you are my hero? You're everything I would like to be. I can fly higher than many eagles because you are the wind beneath my wings. Happy anniversary, Beverly. Ladies and gentlemen, the true Ted Yates Award winner, Beverly O'Neill. Thank you so much for putting up with me tonight. And may God bless every one of you.
You know what the hashtag for that is? Love wins.